it on YouTube if you want, so you have it there for you. There's two more options I still haven't showed you, but I'll show you in the review. So this will be a pretty lengthy review. So to answer Kirill's question, if you practice the process that I showed you yesterday and today, you will have crisp Enrosques. But first, you have to do many of them by yourself with these solo exercises. I've stood not for hours, but over days it's accumulated to be many hours. And I've done this a lot, till the point where I didn't have to think about it that much, and I can make it happen a little faster, and with the music, and then I can start to focus on my lead, and what I'm doing with my partner, and then focus on the exit. Obviously, when I'm talking and trying to demonstrate, I still can mess up on the hard side. And I can say maybe the same thing for the follower, and maybe even more so. The follower has to have a really good technique. Most of these enrosques are done in ochos or in turns, especially turns. And if the follower is rushing the timing of the turn, then it's really hard to keep your balance and do this fancy embellishment.
How do you make your enrosques crisp? Through practicing by yourself.
Starting with this basic exercise that we did yesterday, okay? Following all the steps of having a little pointed arrow, of crossing tight and deep, of not bouncing, being able to walk forward while you're doing this, or crossing in front and walking backwards. If you don't have this down, if you can't do this maybe even at a double time tempo, then everything else falls apart. Because now you're adding a pivot and doing this.
So you have to be really clean here.
Yeah, and then you're going to lead and add a pivot and do this.
Can you do an enrosque by yourself where it's not very smooth? It's more like there's a part that's accelerated.
Yeah. So then we get into the special case of doing a dramatic enrosque just completely for the sake of a musical accent and to scare my partner. And these are some of my favorite musical tricks. I don't really care about looking totally clean and crisp, but sometimes I just want to shock my partner and do an enrosque. And I'm going to wind up maybe in a dirty position, but the impact can be startling, like musically.
So from the exercises we were doing a while ago, this is where he crosses first and then he pivots. But it's just that he's adding a little bit more twistiness or accelerated twistiness in the unwinding of his hips. That's why it feels very dynamic.
Yeah, so I like to do little surprise enrosques just to punctuate the music and then freeze. And it might look really dirty or it might wind up falling into it. Again, we practice being as clean as possible because in real life, as I mentioned yesterday, you will be a little bit off the mark, almost all the time. Does that help?
Yes.
That wasn't an easy answer, that reviewing. So today, what did we focus on?
On Enrosques.
Good. Coming out, yes. So, what was different today than yesterday?
Back.
Yeah, back enrosques. Any specific details that you remember from the beginning of class about that was different from today or additional? Oh, for Christina. Yeah. Do you want to go over those?
We want to go over to the leaders first. So, remember Stephen asked this question, what was different here? What was different? I'm still crossing tight, but what did Stephen brought up? As I'm crossing in front and I'm going to transfer weight, where am I putting the weight? Inside? Outside foot. Remember we discussed this?
Yeah, inside.
Inside. So it's like you're putting down the weight towards the inside line of that foot versus outside. Yeah? So those details. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Any more details like that? This is your quiz. What was the other one? Anyone remember?
You want the point of the arrow.
Point of the arrow. So this is a V, and when you do an enrosque, you have either straight or a slight point of an arrow. So if you have a V when you cross, you're sickling your foot. There was one more thing.
So the hip could turn a little bit.
Yeah, well, that too. So, yeah.
The hip can open, but what?
The hip rotates to help you
This level.
get around, right. It goes around this vertical axis. But then there's something else. Bill?
Big steps, but not necessarily going down.
Right, exactly. Definitely. Long steps without going down. Really important to have clean, crisp enrosques. You can get away with going down later, but in the beginning, try not to. And Bill?
Lean forward.
You're just adding all that weight into it, into the turn, where it doesn't, it's offsetting your axis. It doesn't need to be there. It's a handicap.
So how do we create power and length in our stride without bending our knees?
Putting more weight into the standing foot on the floor.
Yes, just putting a little bit more pressure without actually bending the knees. Yeah? Sorry.
Okay, so today, the enrosque that was new from yesterday was? Good, the back enrosque. Cross behind, change weight. This is the academic practice in a slot. You can do a million of these. Try not to change height and step back. Then you can do it with your partner, if you remember. And in the molinete, where's the nice place where you get the whoosh feeling to do a back enrosque?
Side step.
I didn't get the whoosh feeling, so I don't get that.
Yeah. Side step off of what? After which one of her steps?
Forward.
After her forward step, because she's about to do, we want to time it so she's doing her back step. Good. The three exits for the leader that we worked on today after enrosque are, what are they?
Back step.
Back step,
Capsicata.
back saccada, or yeah, wash, rinse, and repeat. So for the forward enrosque from yesterday, off of the forward step, the follower, we like to do it. And then I can wait and step back with her. I can do a back saccada, and I can do back saccada either on her back step or if I'm quick enough on her side step. And lastly, if I don't want to do any back saccada, I can change weight or not, and I can just kind of wash, rinse, and repeat. If I change weight, I can have like this nice pencil lapis action. If I don't change weight, I have an interesting thing going on. I still have my foot available here to do whatever embellishments. Maybe then I change weight. So that's even a fourth option, to not change weight. Remember, changing weight is an option that is mostly done by who?
The leader.
The leader.
Good, the leader.
So you didn't do the, instead of back saccada, a wrap? You didn't do that often?
Yeah, the fifth thing, since this is an advanced class and I'm just throwing the barn at you, is wherever you have a back saccada, you have the option to do a gancho. It's kind of a theorem of tango, and it just so happens that since enrosques are usually tied to an exit, which could be a back saccada, instead of a back saccada, you can do a gancho. So with the change weight, here's a gancho. Even without a change weight, here's a gancho. I just did it on the other foot. So the enrosque actually prepares me, without a change weight, to do a gancho there. It's really interesting how it can be functional too, not just pretty.
So just a couple of things for the followers when we're doing the outside enrosque. What is the important thing, one of the first important things? If I'm doing ochos and I want to do the enrosque, what is the important thing I need to remember?
Keep your leg open.
Before that.
Make your mind up anytime.
Remember, ladies, that the enrosque is an embellishment, has to stay within the constraints of the time of the lead. If I wait too late, meaning I've transferred my weight and decide, oh, I'm going to do the enrosque, I'm late. So when do I need to make the decision?
Before stepping.
Yes. As I'm reaching before I transfer my weight, I have to be already committed to the enrosque, because otherwise it's going to take too much time. And then, when I reach and I shoot out my leg, how far should my free foot be? Far?
No.
No, not necessary. But what is important though?
Open. Your hip
The hip is turned out and open and the knee is bent. And when do I collect?
At the end, when you pivot.
At the last moment of the pivot. Yeah, not too early. Not too early. Yeah? At the last moment. Yeah? Okay. And then if I can do it on the floor, where else can I do it? In the air. If I do once, can I also do twice?
Yes.
And where usually can I do that? What movement? What did we call it? The dreaded what? Ocho
that
parada.
was my cue, right? Because I like
Yeah.
to do these and she hates them, so she calls it dreaded ocho parada.
Yeah?
Okay, so I think that covers most things. We didn't really explain the dirty enrosque, but that's a weird, strange thing. I'll just say very briefly. Someone once thought that you could lead the follower to do an enrosque and change weight. And there are actually two kind of ways to try to do it. One very, a little slower and one with more energy. But usually in general, it's not the case. When we saw two teachers doing it, they admitted it was a choreography, Fabian Salas and Carolina. And we thought that it was lit. And then we spent a few months trying to actually, in this San Francisco laboratory, with other friends trying to do it. And we realized you could do this kind of in a slow, this kind of way thing, but it's not really an enrosque. You're not really leading her to do an enrosque. It's a different kind of thing. Versus this other way, which we call the dirty enrosque. In which case I pivot her so fast and then I fall off my axis so she falls onto her step half the time, not all the time. And it really does kind of look like an enrosque, but very dirty. And a lot of partners would challenge me, why am I falling? Because normally I don't fall and pull them off their axis. But for about half the followers it actually works. But we don't really teach it or even do it that much. We just wanted to share with you that we've been through this process.
Sometimes when Homer leads this, if he does not fall, the follower ends up doing a forward bolero because there's so much send energy.
Yeah.
So the key ingredient for this movement is actually to make your follower fall onto her foot.
And the moral of
when
the
she
story
crosses.
is don't try to lead your partner to do a forward enrosque, like a real forward enrosque. You can kind of do this kind of fake sort of thing. You should get her to do this, but that's more, I wouldn't exactly put that in the same feeling of this. You could argue with me, but anyway. Okay. So I think that's it, and we have a practica, and for about 2 hours I'll be your DJ, and I will go around and ask you questions unless you don't want any help.
Before you start, can you ask Vic some questions?
Yeah.
Are you done?
Yes.
Yeah, cameras have to go off now though. So next Friday we were going to teach Milonga.